Secretary Pompeo's counterpart in Iran is Foreign Minister Javad Zarif. We spoke with him yesterday. You think it's posturing?
I think it's posturing. I think it's all going the wrong direction in addressing this issue.
The United States says there's no way this attack was launched from Yemen and that the Houthis don't even have the ability to do what happened.
Well, it is difficult for the United States to explain why its state-of-the-art equipment was not able to intercept these weapons. But the fact of the matter is that the Houthis have accepted responsibility for that. If it were a false flag operation, if somebody else did it, then they should look for that culprit. It wasn't Iran.
The United States, Saudi Arabia, they all say that the weapons, the evidence that they have and have gathered was made by Iran.
Well, they've made all those claims in the past.
Those missiles can be reverse engineered to figure out where they were launched from.
Well, they can do it.
The U.S. says it's just a matter of time before other investigators determine that these came from Iran.
Let them do that, because it would take a miracle for them to claim that, because it didn't come from Iran. Period.
Saudi Arabia allowed in reporters to the oil facilities to look at the damage. And there's evidence the attacks came from the north, not from Yemen, from territories that would indicate Iran, possibly Iraq, but the United States says Iran.
Well, there is no evidence to that effect. The Saudis made a show, but they could not prove it. Now, at the end of the day, they claimed that the weapons were Iranian, but they couldn't show even that. They've been showing that a lot of lies.
Are you confident that the UN inspectors, that the French inspectors, that the other countries who are sending people on the ground to look at this equipment, that none of them will determine that Iran played a direct role here, or that these were fired from Iran?
I'm confident that Iran did not play a role. I'm confident that anybody who conducts an impartial investigation will reach that conclusion. But I cannot say a priori that the people who are being sent will conduct an impartial investigation, because we've had cases in the past where they did it.
So will you accept the results of the UN investigators?
No, we will accept the result of an impartial investigation.
Who's impartial?
We can create an impartial investigation team. We were not informed by the UN. We were not consulted by the UN. We do not know on what basis this has taken place. So we will take it up with the United Nations. We are confident that if the United Nations carries out an impartial investigation, the outcome will be that it was not launched from Iran.
Saudi Arabia said today that citizens from the region are being recruited by Iran to carry out attacks.
This means that
it
means that they are backtracking from the initial allegation that it's coming from Iran. They're saying that it may have come from somewhere else, but it was based on citizens being recruited by Iran to do this. So a lie falls apart sooner or later.
Can you say that these weren't Iranian-backed attacks in any way, shape, or
form? They were not
launched?
Iranian-backed attacks. We support the Yemenis. And you see, Iran...
But you also support militias in Iraq and elsewhere.
No, we support the government of Iraq. These militias that you talk about are part of the Iraqi government.
Can you say these weren't launched from Iraq by an Iranian-backed group?
No, they were not launched from Iraq by an Iranian-backed group or by any group.
President Trump has said he'd be willing to meet with Iran without precondition. And there has been talk among the Western powers about trying to give some financial lifeline to Iran to stay in the nuclear deal. All of that was happening, and then this attack seemed to blow it all up.
No, all of that was not happening. Because
you didn't take the offer of talks as real?
We have been talking to the French. The United States has been reluctant to engage in what is required. Let me give you an example that President Trump would easily understand in transactional terms. In real estate terms. I buy a building from you, and somebody inherits your company from you next year, and he comes and tells me, I didn't sell that building to you. I need a higher price and a worse building. Would you buy it? Would anybody to use President Trump's word, in any history, buy this building? Do you have any example in any history, again, to use his wording, of anybody doing this? He is asking us, we didn't have a revolution in the United States. President Trump inherited a government from another administration that was legally elected as United States government. And this agreement has been endorsed by the Security Council. This agreement is in a Security Council resolution. Now, last I heard, the United States sits in the Security Council as a permanent member. It has not withdrawn. It withdrew from Human Rights Council, it withdrew from UNESCO, but hasn't withdrawn from the Security Council, at least not as of yet.
You said yourself that you were invited into the Oval Office to meet with President Trump.
Yeah, but to meet him for what? For a photo opportunity? Or to meet him for some substance?
So when the president says he's willing to meet and talk, you're not taking it seriously at all?
We're ready to talk. We're ready to talk, but talk in terms of something that is not going to be valid only for the next 1.5 years or 5.5 years. We need to talk about something that is permanent, that would last. We already have an agreement. We talked. I have talked to what was a United States Secretary of State and a United States Secretary of Energy for hours upon hours of painful negotiations. These were difficult negotiations. It wasn't just a 2-page document that we signed so that we could do another 2-page document.
So you're saying you will not meet or talk or consider diplomatic negotiations with the United States unless the acceptance of that old deal, the JCPOA,
it's not an old
is
deal.
agreed to.
It's a deal that exists now. There is a negotiating room. There is a negotiating table.
You will not meet with Secretary Pompeo outside of that?
No.
Why?
Because there's no reason to.
There's no reason to talk
and
to
basically, Secretary Pompeo is prevented by law from meeting me because they designated me.
U.S. officials told CBS News, though, that the Supreme Leader himself approved these attacks on Saudi Arabia, but that they needed to be deniable.
Well, this is just a hypocritical, hypothetical allegation. I mean, no reality whatsoever.
The Supreme Leader didn't approve these attacks?
These attacks did not take place from Iran for the Supreme Leader to approve them. Had they taken place from Iran, then he would have had to approve them, but it didn't take place from Iran.
Do you think U.S. officials are lying when they say that? That Saudi Arabia is lying?
I'm certain that they're being lied to. Whether they want to accept that lie, I think the work of us diplomats, I think myself and my counterpart, the U.S. Secretary of State, we need to try to push diplomacy, as Senator Sanders has recently said, not to push war.
Are you confident that you can avoid a war?
No. No, I'm not confident that we can avoid a war. I'm confident that we will not start one. But I'm confident that whoever starts one will not be the one who finishes it.
What does that mean?
That means that there won't be a limited war.
I'm told I'm out of time. There's plenty more to talk to you about, though. Thank you.
Good talking to you.